Hey guys, welcome back. This is our second video on the strength of the Lord. This one's King Benjamin. When we think about King Benjamin, or at least when I think of King Benjamin, kind of think like this older prophet, probably like this old guy, gray hair, 80s, I don't know. And he's preaching to the people all over. People gather together. We have some of the best sermons ever, in my opinion, on service and the atonement, thanks to King Benjamin. So we don't really think about King Benjamin as like being a fighter, like being a warrior, but he was. Turns out he was. So we know that we have the chapters in Messiah about King Benjamin. I think there's 6 of them where we have his sermons. But if we back up to Words of Mormon, it's really good. I'm gonna read this here. So Words of Mormon, it's only 1 chapter. It's pretty quick. Only a few verses talk about King Benjamin. So we don't have a good picture of what's going on here. But we know they're contending against the Lamanites. The Lamanites have infiltrated. They're kind of in this story, they're the bad guys. They've infiltrated their land. They've infiltrated their society, and things are happening that they don't like. They're starting to lose freedoms, and we'll see freedom being a huge thing with the strength of the Lord, people fighting for their freedom. Verse 13, it says, "And it came to pass also that the armies of the Lamanites came down out of the land of Nephi to battle against his people." So Lamanites, they were infiltrated in their society, but also they came down to war. "But behold, King Benjamin gathered together his armies, and he did stand against them, and he did fight with the strength of his own arm." I'm going to pause there for a second. With the strength of his own arm. I think it's so interesting that they talk about the strength of his own arm, because Nephi did the same thing in our last video. He talked about how he was pretty strong. He fought with his own strength and the strength of the Lord. King Benjamin, he does the same thing. He fights with the strength of his own arm, and he says, with the sword of Laban. Also, something that's in common with Nephi. So this is our second occurrence of the strength of the Lord. And the sword of Laban is on the scene for both of these, which I think is cool because it's a sword. It just sounds cool. I don't know. I don't think we need the sword of Laban in our own lives, but King Benjamin and Nephi both had it close. So he fought with Laban's sword, which is kind of cool. Verse 14, "And in the strength of the Lord they did contend against their enemies until they had slain many thousands of the Lamanites. And it came to pass that they did contend against Lamanites until they had driven them all out of the land of their inheritance." Now this is rad. They fought until they pushed all the Lamanites out of their society, out of the war. These people were taking over their lands. So I'm just making sure I'm not missing anything. And it was all about the freedom. And I really like that. Like, it was huge. So King Benjamin, the person we see as this prophet with all these wise words, he's fighting. He's gathering his people together. He's being a leader. He gathers his people together, fights with his own strength, which is obviously important for a leader. They're fighting with their own strength, and they're gathering the people together, and not only asking them to fight, but to fight with the strength of the Lord. And I love how all these years after Nephi used the strength of the Lord, we have King Benjamin using the strength of the Lord. We talk about his strength, then we talk about the strength of the Lord. Nephi he was all on his own. He was by himself using the strength of the Lord. He wasn't on his own. He had the Lord, of course. But King Benjamin and his people. So this is a time when King Benjamin used the strength of the Lord and his people, and he fought with the power and the strength that came from that. I love that example, and I love what he was fighting for. He was fighting for the freedom of his people, integrated into a society. I can see that in our lives. You can have different things you don't want. You can have attacks by Satan or other people trying to get into your life and infiltrate it there. And not only was he just rolling over and just letting them into their lands, he fought back, and he squeezed them all out of of their lands until he had driven them all out. They didn't stop. They didn't push them mostly out and leave a few in there. Pushed them all out, kicked them all out of the land, booted them out of there. They fought until 100% of them were out and they had regained full freedom. And I really love the story, and I think that there's so much to gain. And I'm excited. We've got a lot more to learn about the strength of the Lord and comparing the different times that the situations they use it and the opportunities they use it in their lives, and especially what they did to prepare to use the strength of the Lord in their life. And I believe that there are so many times that we can use the strength of the Lord in our life. And again, I don't think it's something like it's got to be this momentous, huge thing, fighting a war or something. I think there's so many wars in our lives. There's so many battles in our lives. I think that there's so many battles to be fought, so many forces trying to take us over, so many battles going on in your own life with your own wars. And I believe that's why Jesus Christ died. Jesus Christ died and the atonement happened so we can overcome sin, we can overcome death. That's huge. But we can also escape from these attacks. We can escape from Satan. We can escape from prison. And I think that's a huge part of why Jesus Christ died for us, is to help us escape from the attacks in our lives. And sometimes it looks hard. We're fighting with our own arm, our own sword or whatever, like it says, and it seems like we will never win. But I'm here to say that's how Jesus rolls. That's why he's here, and that's why he's in our lives, and that's why we continue to preach of him. There's so much more, I feel, involvement he can have in our own lives, and there's so much more he can make of our own lives if we just let him in and turn to him and let him use us as one of his tools in progressing his work. It's an awesome story, and we'll be back soon with the next one. Thank you.